Overconsumption worsens climate breakdown and increases air pollution. It exhausts the planet's life support system, like the ones that provide us fresh water, and leaves us short of materials critical to our health and quality of life. Overconsumption occurs when the usage of renewable natural resource exceeds its regeneration capacity. Extended practice of overconsumption eventually results in pollution, global warming, and depletion of resource bases.
Overconsumption is what happens when an ecosystem can no longer sustain the use of its resources. It strips the earth of natural resources such as forests, fish, soil, minerals, and water, which collapses ecosystems, ruins habitats, and endangers the survival of countless species that contribute to an intricate, vibrant circle of life. Pollution is the process of making land, water, air, or other parts of environment dirty and not safe and suitable to use. Overproduction and overconsumption add to the already high level of pollution and toxic gases that contribute to global warming. Global warming is the long-term heating of Earth's climate system, observed since pre-industrial period due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increases heat-trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere. I believe that global warming is important because it helps to determine the future climate expectations. We all know that the Earth is warming up and the humans are at least partially to blame. The causes, effects, and complexities of global warming are important to understand so that we can fight for the health of our planet.
Depletion is the use of consumption of a resource from the nature. It is an accurate accounting technique used to allocate the cost of extracting natural resources such as timber, minerals, and oil from the earth.
One of our major natural resources is oil. It is essential not just for human transportation, but also for transportation of goods. The British Petroleum Statistical Review of World Energy estimates that there is 188.8 million tons of oil left in the known oil reserves as of 2010. If our current demand continues, this oil will only be enough to supply the world demands for the next 46.2 years. And the faster it will deplete if we continue to overconsume and overproduce.
Overconsumption is related cause for the depletion of resources since everyone seems to follow the new trends. Older things that are still working are often just dumped into the garbage instead of using them. Thus, this behavior also leads to an increased amount of resources which in turn can lead to resource depletion.
The upsurge of debt. When a society has a large debt, it may overproduce commodities to make a profit, which is then used to pay down the society's debt. When this occurs, there is a risk of overconsumption since there is so much supply with little demand.
Good day. So one of the example of overproduce and overconsume is storage facilities. As too much is produced compared to the market's desire to consume, prices drop and producers decide to move on to something more in demand. If consumption or demand remains very high, naturally more and more production will result, which reduces prices, which benefits consumers. So these storage facilities has been intended to be overproduced because many people wanted to have their own storages, but the fact on these facilities are many of them are being unused. In other words, storage facilities have been made to survive in different disasters, but if your country doesn't experience any catastrophe, it will not help you overall. That's all. Thank you.
The amount of garbage generated per person. The quantity of rubbish produced by each individual is another indicator that society will overproduce and overconsume. The reason for this is that individuals tend to acquire items they do not need just to be trendy. People would buy the same thing, indicating that it is a great demand. With this in mind, industries would overproduce to satisfy their customers and benefit from the trend, which is why the quantity of rubbish produced per person is also a sign of overproduction and overconsumption. Furthermore, as a result of overproduction and overconsumption, society generates a massive amount of waste from the commodities it consumes.
Lack of savings. For example, in the first months of pandemic, everyone is not allowed to go out unless for an emergency cases. Everyone tend to buy more than their needs. Sometimes they purchase things that are not necessarily important and there is no control of spending money resulting to lack of savings.
Lack of house purchasing. Due to overconsumption, many people tend to mismanage their finances and forget some aspects of their lives in which money is most needed, such as housing. This ends up with either them signing up for a mortgage or worse, being homeless, since they were unable to save enough money to secure a place to live comfortably. Impulsive buying and hoarding. Impulsive buying is the act of purchasing something without giving it some thought, while hoarding is the obsessive and irrational collection of items, usually for personal use. Those who engage in these activities certainly practice overconsumption because they cannot grasp the finiteness of the resources involved in making the products they patronize and how hard it is to replenish them. The opposite, however, is observed whenever they are shopping. They impulsively buy things because they think that the stock is very limited, hence they should buy them before anyone else does otherwise.
For the third question, should middle and high income countries regulate their growth and consumption? Why or why not? The simple answer is yes. Why? Because we highly believe that middle and high income countries should manage their growth and consumption of goods for better economic flow, since we all know that wasting is a loss. We should also be mindful of the economic rule between supply and demand, wherein they contradict each other. With high demand, that must be the time when people should grow their supplies for a smooth inflow of money. Additionally, when the demand is low, that is the time wherein people should shrink or lie low with their supplies to avoid wasting them since they could not be sold off within the shelf life of the product. That is all. Thank you.